In this video, we are going to be giving you our top wedding tips. Now, what makes our advice better than anyone else's? For starters, this guy right here is a top-rated wedding officiant.
It's true.
In fact, you've officiated over 700 weddings.
Yeah, I've lost track now.
That's a lot of ceremonies.
Yeah.
Yes. We actually used to cater together, and we catered weddings.
We were dating and even early in our marriage.
Yes, and so we have hands-on experience, but we also know what happens behind the scenes. In receptions and in ceremonies, yes. We've been bridesmaids, groomsmen, maid of honors, matron of honors, best men in so many of our friends' weddings. There's too many to count. But most importantly, we have helped hundreds of engaged couples by giving them premarital counseling. In fact, it became so overwhelming to us that we ended up creating an online premarital course, Happily Ever After. So you're in the right spot. We know what we're talking about.
Okay, the most important thing in preparing for your wedding is to make sure that the planning for the wedding doesn't overtake your relationship. And one of the ways you can do that is to focus back on the relationship by taking a premarital course, right? Think about it. The wedding is just one day. You're preparing to walk together in life for the rest of your life. So it's really important to learn and invest in knowing healthy relationship behavior. It's protecting your marriage, right? The second thing is managing stress, right? There's a lot of things to do in preparing for a wedding.
A lot.
So make sure that you are assigning it, not just one person's doing the entire thing. Make sure that when you guys go on a date, that the date is not just overcome by all the talk of the logistics of putting together a wedding.
I think a great way to manage stress is to both commit to getting monthly massages.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another tip, stick to a budget. It's not worth it to go into debt for one day, and that one day goes by so fast. So stick to a budget, and I think, and we think, I should say, one of the most important line items in that budget, hire a fantastic photographer. Do not go cheap when it comes to photography and videography. It's the only thing that you have for the next 40, 50, 60 years. In fact, every year on our anniversary, what do? We pull out our wedding album and we pull out our wedding video. So don't go cheap on that area.
Speaking of budgets, you know, the new trend now are micro weddings. And this is where you limit your guest count to 25. And this can be a really intimate experience and an inexpensive experience. You know, Meg and I, we had 200 people at our wedding, and we had 260-second conversations with all these friends and families. But when we did our 10-year vow renewal, we invited the most important people in our life. And I remember having great memories with that, more intimate.
I think we had 50 people.
Yeah.
50 people or so. Yeah.
Something like that. All right, when it comes to preparing for your wedding, obviously you're going to pick an officiant, something that I have a lot of experience in. So I just want to kind of give you a couple tips when picking a good officiant. So a lot of couples want to pick a family member or a best friend. Make sure that they have public speaking experience, because that's a lot of pressure to put on someone.
Half of the weddings that you've done, a bride or groom has called you and said, my family member backed out.
Yeah.
Can you fill in for me?
Yeah.
I mean, it happens all the time. They realize, oh shoot, I'm going to be up there with all my friends and family. And it's a lot of pressure.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I do, actually, my methodology is to understand a couple's story, and I write a custom script. So just make sure that this isn't just something that they pulled off the internet and they're just reading, okay? Now, I love incorporating traditions or symbols into the ceremony. One of my favorites is the sand ceremony, where you're blending sand together, and I talk about how there's this blending of personalities and families and budgets and experiences into something new, something different. Another favorite is the wine box ceremony. Now, the wine box ceremony is where you put a bottle of wine in a box, and you are going to take that wine and you're going to stick it underneath your bed, and then 1 year you're going to pull that out, you're going to celebrate using that bottle of wine. I always encourage couples to write letters of affirmations, having friends and family also write letters to put in that box, so it's kind of like a little time capsule that they get to open up. And then finally, if you're thinking about speaking your own vows or writing your own vows, don't feel the pressure that you have to say something completely unique and novel, okay? Now, if you do decide to write your own vows, I always encourage couples, start with I promise to, all right? I promise to be with you through the thick and thin. I promise to love you even when you're snoring. Make it funny, make it lighthearted, and make it you.
I love that. So let's talk about the day of the wedding. So we've got some tips for you. And the first one is this. Seems obvious. Enjoy the day. Be present. It does go by so fast. Everyone's already probably told you that. So what you have to do is be very aware moving into that day to just sit back and take little snapshots of your wedding, of your ceremony, of your bridesmaids, of your groomsmen, and all of these, because it just goes by so quickly. So enjoy the day and don't worry about what's going to happen in 2 hours from now.
Yeah.
Just be in the moment.
Speaking of being in the moment, one of the things that I see couples do that really does destroy their wedding day is drink too much. Yes, it's stressful. Yes, it's that everyone else is drinking, but be careful how much you drink. This is your one day that you get to remember for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And the last thing you want to do is create this fog or embarrassing moments.
Absolutely. And we've seen a few brides where they've had some red wine or some champagne.
Oh.
And before their wedding started, they stained their dress.
Yes.
So
You got your entire marriage to drink.
Yeah, so just be careful. Another thing is stay together as much as possible. That sounds kind of silly, but after we catered so many weddings, we noticed a trend. The groom would be off with his family, and then the bridesmaids would go off with her bridesmaids and be on the dance floor. And here you are, it's your wedding day, and they were actually not together a lot. And so we vowed that that was not going to happen, watching too many people make mistakes. So we ended up tying our wrists together with a matching ribbon.
That's right.
And so as we went and talked to our 200 guests during dinner time, we were tied literally, not at the hip, but at the wrist.
Yeah.
And it was really good. And we look back and we laugh because we spent time together, and we didn't feel like you were off doing your thing and I was doing my own thing. We were together.
I love that. Okay, so things are going to go wrong. Set the right expectations. Now, you may be the only one who knows the details that didn't get done, but just remember, you're the only one that knows that. Everybody else is like, man, this is an amazing event. So set the right expectations. No need to get unglued because of things going right now. Our wedding. There was a lot of things that went wrong.
So many things.
I was in charge of the programs, and the printer kind of stretched out our picture.
We looked morphed. It was really weird.
It was rude. We had a slideshow right before our ceremony started, and this big screen came down, and we had pictures showing, and nobody decided to turn off the projector, so there was this big blue light
on
behind
all of our pictures
behind us with a countdown timer in the middle of the screen, like there was a bomb going off.
When we did our grand entrance, the DJ said our last name wrong.
Oh gosh.
I mean, it wasn't even, I'm like, are you at the right wedding? Because that's not our last name. The cake was all wrong. I paid so much money for our cake, and it was not anything what it looked like. It was supposed to look like Leanne Rimes' cake, and it wasn't from her first marriage. And another thing, do you remember when your mom's fourth husband showed up in jeans?
Yes, and you said this is a semi-formal event.
Our invitation purposely said, please enjoy a semi-formal attire.
Yeah.
And he showed up in jeans. But what's so funny is we didn't notice it the day of.
No.
And I'm glad we didn't notice it. And we never really cared because it's not what matters. What matters is that you're celebrating your new life together as a couple. So let's talk about the wedding night.
Yeah, baby.
Lots of expectations go into the wedding night. And a lot of people actually have first fights on their wedding night. We're one of those couples. But here's why. There's many reasons why, but this is the number one reason. You're tired.
Yeah.
You were just with so many people. You had adrenaline for days leading up to this event. You're exhausted. That's so many conversations and details and things like that. So by the time you get to the hotel room or your house or wherever you're at, you're exhausted. We were so tired. And so there's these expectations that it's going to be this most amazing romantic night. And take note that extroverts get energy from being around other people. We're both extroverts.
Yeah.
But if you're an introvert, you are wiped now even more so because you were around so many people. And so the best thing you can do is talk about your expectations of what you both want for your wedding night. Are you going to have sex? A lot of couples put it off and say, it's not even a big deal. Let's do it tomorrow after we get a good night's sleep. And I think talking about it and being very realistic with how you're going to feel after having a huge party with a bunch of people is something that will really help you not be disappointed and
Yeah.
also prevent an argument on
And
your wedding night.
I think guys need to have that realistic expectation that both of you have been seeing family from out of town, friends you haven't seen in a long time. You threw a big party, you're the center of the attention. There's so much going on, and that can be a libido killer, big time. And by the time you hit that hotel room, you're just like, I just want to go to sleep. So remember, your wedding day is just one day. You're preparing for a marriage for a lifetime.
If you want to plan not just for your wedding, but for your marriage that's going to last a lifetime, be sure to check out our online premarital course, Happily Ever After. Visit happilyeverafter.org.
Nice save.
It's nice. It's like if you just, yeah, look. Go blah, blah, blah.
I'm excited about being your team member.